Good morning, dear learners. I am Glarmina. So, today we are going to start our next unit, Unit 7 of Interpersonal Attraction, or from your study material, you can say that it's Block 2 and Unit 3. So, let's see the definitions. So, interpersonal attraction, it is the attraction between people which leads to friendship and romantic relationships. It is a force, it acts as a force between two people that tends to draw together, and we try to resist the separation. So, in forming a social network, in turn, it provides security and it satisfies the people's need to belong to a social group. So, these are the benefits of interpersonal attractions. Then comes the nature of interpersonal attraction. So in cases we like people who seem to agree with us because we think they are smart, we'll probably get along and they'll probably like us too. And in assessing the nature of attraction, psychologists have used methods such as questionnaires, survey, and rating scale to determine the level of one's attraction towards another. So many factors are there that can lead to interpersonal attraction. So basically, for having an interpersonal attraction, we should first have a positive regard to the other person. So the most frequently studied factors are physical attractiveness, propinquity, that means proximity, then familiarity, similarity, complementarity, reciprocal liking, and reinforcement. So let's see each factor one by one. First, physical attractiveness. So most people show a substantial preference for attractive persons than unattractive others. So perhaps the advantage of good looks and the inferences people make when they see a physically attractive persons are the reasons for getting attracted to another person. So physical attractive persons, they seem to possess a host of socially desirable personality traits as compared to those who were unattractive. So actually the bias for beauty is pervasive in society. And the beautiful and handsome characters were significantly more likely to be portrayed as virtuous, romantically active, and successful than their less attractive counterparts. The physical attractive people are perceived to be more sociable, successful, happy, dominant, sexually warm, mentally healthy, intelligent, and socially skilled than those who are unattractive. So then comes attractiveness and job related outcomes. How job related outcomes and attractiveness are related. So, field and laboratory studies conducted in both individualistic and collectivistic cultures indicate that physical attractiveness does have a moderate impact in a variety of job related outcomes, including hiring, a job, salary, and promotion decisions. So, for women, facial attractiveness did not influence their starting salaries, but it did substantially impact their later salaries. Next factor is propinquity or proximity. So, propinquity effect can be defined as the more we see and interact with a person, the more likely he or she is to become our friend or intimate partner. Okay. So under proximity, we can see the proximity is indicating as an intensifier of sentiments. So we can say that other things, if being equal, the closer two individuals are located geographically, the more likely it is that they will be attracted to each other. For in case of friendship choices, we can see this factor as more. So students who share their classes or their dormitory or apartment building or who sit near them are being attracted more easily than with those who are geographically located only slightly further away. Okay. Next is increased. This proximity increases the probability of acquiring more information. So proximity appears to allow an opportunity to obtain information about other persons and accumulates experience regarding the rewards or punishments one is likely to receive from the other persons. So with decreasing distance, sentiments such as likes and dislikes, especially the strong sentiments of love and hate, are not likely to be felt for people about whom we have minimal amount of information and with whom we have had little experience. Okay. Another factor which is coming under proximity is Haydar's balance theory. So in Haydar's balance theory, this theory will be discussed later also. So here, if we have three persons P, O and X, and if P is having a positive relationship with O and with X, but the O is not having a positive relationship with X, then the P will decide whether he will accept O or X to balance his emotions and sentiments. So this is what is called as Haydar's theory. So it is having the prediction that proximity will more often lead to liking than disliking, and it is derived from a number of cognitive consistency theories. So according to Haydar's theory, people strive to make their sentiment relationship. Sentiment relationship means whether he is having a positive or negative attitude towards something. That is called as sentiments. So people will strive to make their sentiment relationship harmonious with their perception of the unit relationships that existed between objects. Unit relationship, it is perceived as belonging together. For example, members of family, they are perceived as a unit, as are a person and his clothing and so on. So unit relationship, it refers to relationship that we are having in a family. So always proximity determines this interpersonal attractions here. Then another factor is similarity. There is a notion like birds of a feather flocks together. It points out that similarity is a crucial determinant of interpersonal attraction. So there is a lay belief that people with actual similarity produce initial attraction. Perceived similarity develops for someone to rate others as similar to themselves in ongoing relationships. Such perception is either self-serving, for example, friendship, or relationship serving in case of romantic relationship. So a study conducted by Theodore Newcomb in 1963 on college dorm roommates suggested that individuals with shared backgrounds, academic achievements, attitudes, values and political views become friends easier. So let's see what are the sub-factors in similarity. First, physical appearance. People are more likely to form long-standing relationships with those who are equally matched in social attributes like physical attractiveness. Next, attitudes. So according to law of attraction by Barr, attraction towards a person is positively related to the proportion of attitude similarity associated with that person. So based on the cognitive consistency theories, difference in attitudes and interest can lead to dislike and avoidance, whereas similarity in attitudes promotes social attraction. So activity preference similarity, value-based attitude similarity, etc. matters. Next, socio-cultural background. So the research indicates that people prefer their romantic partners to be similar in certain demographic characteristics, including religious background, political orientation, and socio-economic status. Next is personality. So interpersonal attraction was more positively correlated to personality similarity. People are inclined to desire romantic partners who are similar to themselves on agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, emotional stability, openness to experience, and attachment style. Next, interest and activities. So activity similarity was especially predictive of liking judgments, which affects the judgment of attraction. Next, social skills. According to post-conversation measures of social attraction, tactical similarity was positively correlated with partner satisfaction and global competence ratings, but was uncorrelated with opinion change and perceived persuasiveness measures. These are all self-explanatory somewhat. So similarity has effect on starting a relationship, and similarity also promotes relationship commitment. Similarity in intrinsic values of the couple was linked to relationship commitment and stability. Okay. These are some of the research results. Next factor is complementarity. Complementary interaction between two partners increase their attractiveness to each other. Complementary partners preferred closer interpersonal relationship than non-complementary ones. Low self-esteem individuals appeared more likely to desire a complementary relationship with high esteem people. So we are attracted to people who complement to us because this allows to maintain our preferred style of behavior. And through interaction with someone who complements our own behavior, we are likely to have a sense of security and self-validation. More attracted to peers approximately to their ideal self here. Then comes the principles of similarity and complementarity. So similarity seems to carry considerable weight in initial attraction, while complementarity assumes importance as the relationship develops over time. Okay. So these are the factors affecting interpersonal attraction. Next comes the theories. So before that, one more factor is mutual liking. So it will not give us complete understanding if we ignore a very important process which mediates initial attraction and the established interpersonal relationship. The intention is to refer the reciprocating cues of liking. This is coming under theories also. So here the exchange of communicating the likings that leads to generation of positive emotional states. So the next is the process. Next in the process is the clear communication of mutual liking, which further strengthens mutual liking. So one person, he becomes attracted to other, and that attraction creates attraction to the other person. So next is explaining interpersonal attraction through various theories. First is social exchange theory. It is based on the perception of our rewards and costs that determines our interpersonal attraction. So people's feelings towards a potential partner are dependent on their perception of rewards and cost, the kind of relationship they deserve, and their likelihood for having a healthier relationship with someone else. So we always check with the rewards and cost of each of our relationship, and we'll check whether there is any alternative that can compensate our cost in the present relationship also. Next is evolutionary theories. So it says that opposite sex attraction, it most often occurs when someone has physical features indicating that he or she is very fertile. So we'll have interpersonal attraction with someone, and we are having the feeling that he or she is very fertile also at the same time. So another evolutionary explanation suggests that fertility in a mate is of greater importance to men than to women. So evolutionary theory suggests that people whose physical features suggest they are healthy are seen as more attractive. The theory suggests that a healthy mate is more likely to possess genetic traits, so we can raise a healthy offspring. That was the intention behind that interpersonal attraction there. Evolutionary theory suggests that love keeps two people together so that they can raise a child. Next is reciprocity of liking rule, same as mutual liking. A person may come to like another and then as a consequence of his liking come to perceive that the other person likes him. So in such a case, liking for the other is not induced by the other person's providing the reward of esteem, but rather by some other determinant of interpersonal attraction. And one may become attracted to another as a consequence of his discovery that the other person likes him. So that is considered as the reward here. Then how interpersonal attraction gives rewards like reduced anxiety, stress, loneliness, and how it enhances our self-esteem. So liking is produced by rewards others provide, and it reduces anxiety. There is much evidence that when individuals feel anxious, afraid, lonely, or unsure of themselves, a sheer presence of others is particularly rewarding. So it helps in escape, cognitive clarity, direct anxiety reduction, indirect anxiety reduction, and self-evaluation. So these are the benefits. So next comes how we can reduce stress through interpersonal attraction. There is some evidence that individuals who are placed in stressful situations show less severe physiological disturbance if other individuals are present than if they are not or if they are lonely. Okay. Next is social isolation. So there is evidence that even when not under stressful conditions, people always prefer a fair amount of contact with others to being alone for any length of time. The strength of the desire for social intercourse with others was dramatically demonstrated by the results of a social reform experiment conducted in early 19th century. And the research shows that the reported pain of isolation experience seems typically to bear a non-monotonic relationship to pain. Pain increases to a maximum in cases and then decreases sharply. And there seems to be a stronger tendency for those in isolation to think, dream, and occasionally to hallucinate about people. Those isolates who are able to keep themselves occupied with distracting activities appear to suffer less and to be more prone to develop apathy. Next is how it enhances self-esteem. There is a positive relationship between self-esteem and liking. It is produced by previous researches. So here comes the end of this unit. So in this unit, we determined various factors that affects interpersonal attraction, and we found various theories that support interpersonal attraction. Okay, thank you.